A very good afternoon. You're watching the midday news on Rajya Sabha television, and these are the headlines. Enforcement Directorate attaches assets worth 54 crore rupees belonging to Karti Chidambaram. Assets in Tamil Nadu, Delhi, UK and Spain attached as part of INX Media money laundering case. Nine properties of real estate builder Amrapali Group sealed in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in compliance with the Supreme Court's order on Wednesday. Court hearing petitions by home buyers seeking possession of over 40,000 flats of the group. No loss of life reported in Odisha after cyclone Titli made landfall in the state early today. Heavy rainfall in several places, minor damage to power and communications. Efforts on to clear roads blocked by uprooted trees. India lost $79.5 billion in 20 years due to climate-related disasters, says a UN report. US and China among top losers in the study from 1998 to 2017. Global body says climate change will continue to be a major impediment to sustainable development. And India bags 1 silver and 3 bronze medals at the Asian Para Games in Jakarta. Sundar Singh Gurjar wins in men's javelin throw event. Medals tally increases to 41. The biggest story this afternoon, the Enforcement Directorate has attached assets worth 54 crore rupees of Karti Chidambaram in the INX Media money laundering case. The assets have been attached in India, UK and Spain. The Central Probe Agency issued a provisional order under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act for the attachment of Indian assets in Kodaikanal and Ooty in Tamil Nadu and a flat in Delhi's Johor. A college and a house in Somerset in UK and a tennis club located in Barcelona in Spain have also been attached as part of the same order. Fixed deposits worth 90 lakh rupees kept in a bank in Chennai in the name of Advantage Strategic Consulting Private Limited have also been attached. Now, these assets are in the name of Karti and ASCPL, the firm allegedly linked to him. The ED had registered a PMLA case in this deal on the basis of a CBI FIR. The allegation is that irregularities took place in the FIPB clearance to the INX Media for receiving overseas fund to the tune of 305 crore rupees in 2007 when Karti's father P. Chidambaram was the Union Finance Minister. And on to the other top story, the Amrapali Group has informed the Supreme Court that its 9 properties in Noida, Greater Noida, Rajgir and Buxar in Bihar have been sealed in compliance with the court's order. This has also been done in compliance with the court's order on Wednesday. A bench of Justices U.U. Lalit and D.Y. Chandrachud asked the Amrapali Group to file an undertaking with regard to the sealing of its properties by 2 p.m. today. The bench also sought the presence of 2 forensic auditors to ascertain their satisfaction with regard to the documents to be audited. The Apex Court, remember, had yesterday ordered the sealing of 9 properties of the embattled real estate company after its 3 directors who are in police custody said that the documents related to the group's 46 firms were stored there. The bench had then directed that after the sealing of these 9 premises, the key to be handed over to the registrar of the Apex Court. The court is seized of a batch of petitions filed by the home buyers who are seeking possessions of around 42,000 flats booked in the projects of the Amrapali Group. Big story from Odisha, where a severe cyclonic storm Titli triggered heavy to very heavy rainfall in several districts of the state after it made landfall near Gopalpur area early today. The Indian Met Department said that the cyclone uprooted trees, electric poles in various places, but no loss of lives were reported from any part of the state. The cyclone also triggered heavy rainfall at least 3 districts and caused minor damage to power and communication. The Met Department also said that the system is now moving northeastwards towards the Gangetic West Bengal across Odisha, and it will weaken gradually. Meanwhile, in the wake of the storm, the Odisha government had ordered the closure of all schools, colleges and Anganwadi centres across the state till Friday. And early on Wednesday, the state government had evacuated over 3 lakh people living in low-lying areas and 5 coastal districts. They were accommodated in several shelters in the state. And of the 15 teams of the NDRF, 13 have been deployed along with the Odisha Disaster Rapid Action Force at vulnerable areas.
अभी जो वेरी सीवियर साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म था उसका जो आई था लगभग लैंडफॉल हो चुका है और अराउंड ये नॉर्थ आंध्र प्रदेश में 18.8 डिग्री और 84.5 डिग्री ईस्ट में वो नियर पलासा एंड वो श्रीकाकुलम के पास लैंडफॉल हुआ इसका और उस लैंडफॉल के टाइम पे इसका विंड स्पीड रहा 140 से 150 किलोमीटर और जो मैक्सिमम विंड स्पीड वो रिपोर्ट किया गया है वो 165 किलोमीटर पर आवर है और ये मॉर्निंग में 4:30 से लेके 5:30 के बीच में ये लैंडफॉल किया है और इसके वजह से हेवी रेनफॉल का चांसेस बहुत बढ़ चुका है.
All right, so that is the big story from Odisha, where remember the cyclone Titli made landfall in the state of Odisha, and as a result, it triggered heavy to very heavy rainfall in several districts of the state, including Ganjam, Gajapati, and Puri districts of Odisha. There have been reports of damage to several huts and houses as well, but thankfully there has been no loss of life due to the storm. There have been several roads that have been blocked due to the uprooting of trees that have been reported, especially from Ganjam district of the state. And the cyclone Titli triggered heavy to very heavy rainfall in several parts of the state. And of course, this is one big story that we'll keep tracking through the day. Meanwhile, also in the United States, at least one person is dead and hundreds of thousands of houses are without power after Hurricane Michael made a landfall on the Florida coast. The most powerful hurricane ever to hit northwest of Florida has flooded beach towns as well as submerged homes and snapping trees. Florida Governor Rick Scott has warned of unimaginable devastation, saying that it would be the worst storm in 100 years. More than 370,000 people in Florida were earlier ordered to evacuate, and states of emergency have been declared in all or parts of Florida, Alabama, Georgia and North Carolina. The forecasters have warned that parts of Florida could experience storm surges of up to 14 feet and cause flash floods from up to 12 inches of rain. Schools and state offices in the area are to remain shut this week. Florida has also activated 3,500 National Guard troops. Michael is the third most powerful storm ever to make a landfall in the main U.S.
Hurricane Michael is the worst storm that the Florida Panhandle has ever seen, and one of the worst power storms to ever make landfall in the United States. We heard of significant impacts at Tyndall Air Force Base and many communities along the coast. As Hurricane Michael continues its destructive path through the Panhandle and leaves our state, we're turning 100% of our focus on search and rescue and recovery.
On to the other big story. A UN report has said that India has lost $79.5 billion in the last 20 years due to climate-related disasters. Now, the report says that the years between 1998 to 2017 have seen a dramatic rise of 151% in direct economic losses from climate-related disasters. The global economy has suffered losses of $2.908 trillion as a result in the same period, and it is more than twice of what was lost in the previous 2 decades. And the greatest economic losses have been experienced by the United States, followed by China, Japan, India and Puerto Rico. The report further said that a growing threat from climate change, extreme weather events now account for 77% of total economic losses of $2.2 trillion. The report was released ahead of the International Day for Disaster Reduction on 13th of October. And the report concludes that the climate change is increasing its frequency and the severity of extreme weather events are also increasing. It said that the disasters will continue to be major impediments to the sustainable development so long as the economic incentives to build and develop hazard-prone locations outweigh the perceived disaster risks. And after petrol and diesel, the government has cut excise duty on jet fuel to 11%. Excise duty on aviation turbine fuel has been reduced to 11% now from 14% with effect from 11th of October. Jet fuel prices this month hit their highest level since January 2014. The fuel in Delhi currently costs 74,567 rupees per kiloliter, and in Mumbai it is priced at 74,177 rupees per kiloliter. ATF prices, which currently are cheaper than petrol and diesel in Delhi, have since July spiked up by 9.5%. The aviation industry has been seeking lower taxes to help offset the impact of high oil prices. ATF, like petrol and diesel, is not covered by the goods and services tax regime that on 1st of July last year amalgamated 17 different central and state taxes. And the Election Commission has made it compulsory for the candidates contesting elections to advertise their criminal antecedents in television and newspapers at least 3 times during electioneering. According to the directions issued on Wednesday, political parties also have to give publicity to the criminal records of the candidates fielded by them. Now, this means that the candidates and the parties contesting the elections to be held in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Mizoram and Telangana in November-December will have to publicize their criminal records, and candidates who do not have records also have to mention that. The candidates will now have to fill up an amended form. They will have to inform parties about their antecedents, such as the cases in which they have been convicted and also the cases that are pending against them. The Election Commission said that the parties will be obliged to put the information about the candidates on their websites, and parties which fail to comply face the prospects of getting the recognition withdrawn or suspended. The poll panel's directions are based on a Supreme Court order. In midday news, time for a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back after the break. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that when women thrive, the whole country benefits. Speaking at the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of the Ethiraj College for Women in Chennai, the Vice President said that if India has to be transformed, then it must prioritize education, and within education, it must put girls' education at the center of its development efforts. He added that there is no better antidote to patriarchy, fundamentalism, extremism and dogmatism. Stating that Indian women have demonstrated excellence in various fields, he said that it would take a supreme level of ignorance about India's civilization to claim that patriarchy is our tradition. He also added that India has a large young population, and with that it has an unprecedented opportunity to fast-track development.
It is abundantly clear that our country is taking major steps to involve women in India's developmental journey. We must get over the societal mindset that views women as inferior to men. It is against our own ancient philosophical moorings. Ours is a nation that declared millions of years ago, Yatra Naryastu Pujante Ramante Tatra Devata. Where women are respected, gods live there. The women of India are central to our nation's development. Institutions like Ethiraj College are playing a significant role in ensuring that young women have access to quality education. Education is not only an entry point to economic opportunities but also positive ripple effects on other aspects of social development.
And the University Grants Commission, or the UGC, has warned varsities and colleges against the retention of original documents of admitted students and non-refund of fee in case an admission is withdrawn within 1 month. The UGC said that the higher educational institutions will be penalized if they fail to follow the directive. Penalty included withdrawal of affiliation, deemed status, and also being banned from receiving any assistance from the UGC. HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar said that no student will be required to submit any original academic and personal certificate like mark sheets or school leaving certificates at the time of submission of admission form. He also added that the institution can only ask for self-attested copies of the documents. The minister said that in case of a withdrawal of admissions, the institutions are liable to return between 50% to 100% of the amount depending on when a student decides to vacate the seat.
एडमिशन क्लोज होने के पहले अगर 16 दिन और उससे ज़्यादा पहले ही बताएंगे कि मेरा एडमिशन कैंसिल कर रहा हूं, तो उसको 100% वापस मिलेंगे। अगर 15 दिन के भीतर वो बताएंगे, एडमिशन क्लोज होने से पहले 15 दिन और कम दिन यानी 10 दिन पहले बताएंगे वगैरह, तो उसको 90% वापस मिलेंगे। अब ये नया नियम डाला है। एडमिशन क्लोज होने के बाद 15 दिन में करेंगे एडमिशन कैंसिल, तो उसको 80% वापस मिलेगी परीक्षा।
And on to some other news. The Reserve Bank of India will inject 12,000 crore rupees into the system through the purchase of government bonds today. And the move will inject liquidity into the system through the purchase to meet the festival season demand for funds.
The Reserve Bank of India will inject 12,000 crore rupees liquidity into the system through purchase of government bonds on Thursday. The auction to purchase government bonds is part of the open market operations to manage liquidity in the system. As part of the OMOs, the RBI will purchase government securities maturing in 2020, bearing an interest rate of 8.27%, those maturing in 2022 at an interest rate of 8.15%, in 2024 at 7.35%, 2026 at 8.15% and 2030 at an interest rate of 7.61%.
This is a very timely move and a very good move because market is facing huge liquidity crunch and mutual funds were finding it very difficult to sell their government bonds and securities, and they were selling it at a very lower price. So with this, I think some liquidity will come into the system, and those mutual funds who had the liquidity or redemption pressure, so they would be able to unload some of their securities through this means.
The result of the auction will be announced the same day and payment to successful participants will be made during banking hours on October 12th.
RBI has all the prerogative to accept the entire, whatever is available for purchase. They can reject, they can accept. So it is practically 100% at the prerogative of RBI.
Open market operations help manage liquidity in the system. It can be used to either inject or drain liquidity from the markets. The RBI uses OMO along with other monetary policy tools like repo rate, cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio to adjust the quantum and price of money in the system. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has left for Dushanbe to attend a two-day conclave of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or the SCO in Tajik capital beginning today. The conclave is expected to focus on boosting cooperation in fighting terrorism besides deliberating on pressing regional and global issues. The meeting of the SCO's Council of Heads of Government is also likely to review the situation in Syria, Afghanistan and the Korean Peninsula. It will be the second CHG meeting since India became a full member of the SCO in June 2017. The MEA said that the leaders will be discussing prospects for further development of SCO and exchange in-depth views on current international and regional issues. And on to some other news now. Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has left for Paris on a 3-day visit to France. Officials also said that Sitharaman will hold wide-ranging talks with her French counterpart, Florence Parly, on ways to deepen strategic cooperation between the two countries and also deliberate on major regional and global issues of mutual interest. In the talks, both the leaders are expected to deliberate on joint production of military platforms and weapons by the two countries as well. Sitharaman's France visit comes in the backdrop of the controversy over the procurement of 36 Rafale fighter jets from French aerospace major Dassault Aviation. She will also take stock of the progress in the supply of the Rafale jets by Dassault to the Indian Air Force. At least 3 people were killed and 4 others were injured as a shallow 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Indonesia's Java and Bali islands today. Several houses were also damaged in the earthquake that shook Bali and East Java. The victims in East Java's Sumeneb district perished after being crushed by collapsed buildings. The quake's epicenter was in the Bali Sea, around 40 kilometers of the eastern end of the Java island. Meanwhile, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake also struck off Papua New Guinea less than 2 hours later. Remember, these fresh tremors come after a 7.5 magnitude earthquake and the subsequent tsunami struck off the Indonesian island of Sulawesi last month, killing more than 2,000 people. Search volunteers and rescue officials are still carrying out the task of finding survivors and the bodies of victims buried under the soil and rubble. All the sporting action now. India's medal tally increased to 41 with 7 gold medals and 14 silver and 20 bronze at the Asian Para Games in Jakarta. Sundar Singh Gunjar won the silver medal in the men's javelin throw event with his best throw of 61.33 meters. And Sri Lanka's Herat Dinesh claimed the gold, while another Indian in the fray, Rinku, clinched the bronze medal with a throw of 60.92 meters. And in the men's 400 meters T13 event, Avnil Kumar won the bronze medal. Avnil completed the race in 52 seconds to claim the medal, while Omid of Iran won the gold medal. Earlier in table tennis, Bhavina Patel and Sonal Patel won the silver in the women's double table tennis event. And Vijay Kumar won another silver for India in the men's long jump event. An ace Indian shooter, Saurabh Chaudhary, won gold medal in the 10 meters air pistol event at the ongoing Youth Olympic Games. Saurabh shot 244.2 to finish on top of the podium ahead of South Korea's Suno Young Ho, while Switzerland's Solari Jason bagged the bronze medal with the 215.6 points. And in table tennis, Archana Kamath settled for bronze after losing her match 1-4 to her Romanian counterpart in the women's singles bronze medal playoff. Archana was the first Indian peddler to reach the semi-final of the Youth Olympics. An Indian junior men's hockey team qualified for the final of the ongoing Sultan of Johor Cup hockey tournament. The men in blue defeated defending champions Australia 5-4 to qualify for the final for the 5th time. Now, India is at the top of the table with 12 points after 4 matches. India will next face Great Britain in the final on Friday. And earlier in the tournament, the men in blue had defeated Japan 1-0, Malaysia 2-1 and New Zealand 7-1. And that's the wrap on this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.